Okay, if you saw the last video on our basically introduction and first impressions on our Bronco, you'll see that we got a set of rock rails here for it. These are OEM rock rails that we did not have option from the factory for two reasons. One was costs, and I didn't think these were going to be very sturdy, so we were expecting to go aftermarket. Come to find out, after some research and feedback from everybody else, these things are more than capable of taking some, medium rock crawling damage. They are actually about 1/8 inch thick steel tubed. So, I mean, this thing's like probably 30 pounds just for one side without the brackets and stuff. So I have no concerns about these things holding up, to be honest with you. The other thing I was kind of concerned about was because they mount to the pinch weld. Coming from European cars and Japanese cars, pinch welds are like the weakest place to put anything and jack a car up from. So again, come to find out, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 holes in the pinch weld itself. And then there's an additional 3 holes up underneath of the rocker panel, or the floor if you want to say. These mount. You can see there's a bracket. There's 3 brackets on the rock rails, which have the 2 bolts per in the pinch weld, and then there's a 3rd bolt that goes up underneath. So altogether you have 9 fasteners holding this thing and dispersing the weight under the side of the vehicle. I have no concerns about any sort of damage from hitting a rock on the rails and being pushed into the vehicle. When we get them on, we'll see just how sturdy they are, but I don't think these things are going to have any problems holding up to what we plan to do. The only downside is with these rock rails, you're not going to be able to put steps on. Like, you can't get a set of side steps or rock rails with side steps built in. However, there are some aftermarket options coming, I believe. The SEMA Bronco had a set of, they call them stirrups. Kind of fitting, don't you think? A Bronco with feet holsters, essentially, to get up into the vehicle. So the SEMA Bronco had a set of stirrups on them with the factory rock rails, which looked amazing. I can't wait for those to come out if they do. There's another company that's coming out, Archetype Industries or something like that, has a set of billet aluminum ones that actually have like a 2-inch drop that mount to the rock rails. That's one option that we're going to pursue, possibly, but they're kind of expensive and I don't think they look that great. But maybe if we can get a set just to try, maybe we'll give them a shot. But for now, we're just mainly concerned about protecting the underside of the vehicle and to cover the unsightly body pinch welds. So without further ado, let's get these things thrown on. I'll tell you all the tools you need, how to do this, which brackets go where, and any kind of tricks to the trade that I might come up against along the way. Okay, as I mentioned, there's 3 brackets that mount to the vehicle. 3 that are fixed to the rock rails themselves. They're welded on, can't remove them. And there's two additional ones that go between the rock rail and the body. So those 2 brackets look like this, very similar in shape, size, and the way they mount, but they are different. Now on the other side, the rearmost bracket is the same on each side. The middle bracket, however, is slightly different, so there are different part numbers. So you can mix the 2 up, but you'll know because it won't align perfectly. So to mount these brackets to the vehicle, there's these alignment tabs, which make it very easy. You just put them up in, and then they'll hang there, okay? And then up on the upper side, as this is in the vehicle, up like this, you've got one, looks like an M10 maybe, and then you've got these 2 additional holes here, which are the holes in they should line up with the holes in your pinch welds. Those holes are for the studs that are on the rock rails themselves. So you're going to mount these brackets to the vehicle first, and then you'll come back to mount the rock rail onto these brackets. So I'll show you under here kind of what it looks like and what tools you need to put these on so that we can get these things mounted. Okay, so we're under the vehicle here. Here's the underside of the rocker panel and the pinch weld, and here's your frame. So you got, I don't know, it's probably 6 to 8 inches. So this is the middlemost mounting point on the driver's side. as you can see here, there is some sort of undercoating seam sealer type material that was applied to the body. Ford did us a favor and left that area where the mounts go uncoated, so there's no concerns with having to strip any of that off or whatever. So this middle mount, this middle bracket I should say, ending in B39 is going to be just like this. Okay, so you put your tabs up in the upper holes, alignment holes, and it'll hold itself there. And your rearmost bracket mounts the same way. Okay, that's up there. So now what you're going to do is you're going to take some Loctite. I prefer to use blue Loctite just because it's still going to keep it from coming loose in most cases, unless it's a high vibration point or you really need something that's never going to come off again. It looks like there was red on here before, but we don't need that. So we'll put some blue Loctite in here. We'll get this screw in that hole. We'll hand tighten them first. They are 13 millimeter, both of them. I am not going to tighten these down the whole way yet because I know from experience that sometimes you need just a little bit of play to get stuff lined up. Now we're going to take these off. These look like they might be M8. Also a 13 millimeter head for the socket. Now we're going to grab our rock rail. Be careful. They're heavy. Like I said, they're extremely heavy. So it looks like the part number on this for you guys that care or that want to buy a set. There's a few part numbers on here. It looks like M2DB 102D09 BE5YZ9. Be careful, you don't want to scratch your paint. And I've got these mud flaps in the front, so now take your nuts from the studs. I'm just going to put one on, each one, just to hold itself up there. That way I don't have to do it. Okay, now we're going to put our other 10 millimeter bolt in the frontmost bracket that is permanently affixed to the rock rail. Now there's nothing in these holes keeping you from being able to put these in right off the factory line, so it's almost like they knew. They made it easy for people to put these back on themselves if they wanted. Okay, now our 8 millimeter bolts that hold the rock rails to the middle brackets, we'll call them. Again, don't tighten down anything the whole way until you get all your screws hand tight at least. Just tighten these just a tad, just to make sure nothing's getting caught up anywhere. All right, let's see our work before we tighten them the whole way. All right, so this is one side mostly mounted. Now they're not snug the whole way, so you know there's still a little bit of a gap in here. But I will say, first impressions on them from a distance, they look great. They look more functional than cosmetic, to be honest with you, because you can still see in behind them. There's, I don't know, probably a 3/4 inch gap or so. You can see the pinch weld through from the right angle. My mud flaps don't quite fit as well anymore because of the rock rail. I might need to extend this spacer here just a tad. But yeah, overall not bad. I mean, like I said, they're mainly there to protect the vehicle more than anything. So let's tighten these up and do the other side. Ta-da! Okay, here we are. This is the final install of the OEM rock rails for the Bronco full size. Total install takes about 30 minutes, give or take. Very easy. Total, I think there's about 11 pieces of hardware per side between screws and nuts. Need 2 different sockets, maybe a couple extensions. One socket is a 13 millimeter and probably a 3-inch extension would be good enough. Also a 10 millimeter deep socket. That should be enough for you to install this, along with some Loctite, and 30 minutes of your time. Don't pay the dealership $200 if you don't have the money. Do it yourself.